This podcast is brought to you by Rise, Make Life Work Out, a health and self-development platform dedicated to helping busy, everyday Kiwis manage their physical health and upskill their mental well-being.
Through sharing relatable and practical content from health practitioners, as well as showcasing interesting stories from interesting people.
For more shows, content, events, and coaching, head to our website, www.rise-workout.com. How does one reconcile competing with the people they are friends with? And at what point do your expectations become detrimental? In this week's episode, we chat to heptathlete Briana Stephenson, one of New Zealand's brightest athletes.
Yeah, Bri shares some of the pivotal moments throughout her career that were both physically and emotionally challenging and how she came out the other side. She highlights the key role that reaching out for help had in this.
From dealing with injuries to how her parents have impacted her career to how the New Zealand athletics industry could be improved, this is a valuable episode.
So be sure to let us know your thoughts once you've had a listen, and make sure you follow along and subscribe at the High Frequency Club on all your favourite audio platforms, including Instagram and YouTube.
Enjoy the show. Briana Stephenson, welcome to the High Frequency Club.
Thank you for having me.
So, we know that you're a weapon on the field, off the field, and in the training room. But there's going to be some people who are listening right now who have never heard who you are yet. So, why don't you tell people your key achievements, who you are, and describe what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Briana, or Bri. I'm Māori and originally from central Hawke's Bay, so kind of rural Hawke's Bay, where I went to a very small rural primary school of about 40 to 60 people from the age of 5 to 13, and pretty much played every sport that I could from a very young age. Was pretty athletic. My parents were both super athletic as well, so they were fast and plyometric. Dad was a rugby player and did athletics as well, and mum was a really good netballer, so it was kind of in the genes to be going in that direction. And then hit 13, was shipped off to boarding school at Napier Girls, where I was a 5-day boarder, and that was really awesome, just coming from a small place and then going to a slightly bigger kind of city, a few more opportunities, more teams, more people, all that kind of stuff. I got into more sports there, so I started playing volleyball and basketball, and was pretty much in most of the top teams from year 9, even the senior teams in volleyball, basketball, netball and touch rugby, and started taking athletics probably a bit more seriously from the age of 11. My family and I would go away every year when I was 7 to 14. We'd do a competition called the Colgate Games, which was North Island oriented, and we just make a bit of a trip of it. And that's when we were like, oh, okay, like she does pretty good at this kind of level. And then when I was 11, I did the interprovincials and won a few events, and we were like, okay, so she's good at the national level as well. So yeah, we moved up to Hastings Athletics Club just to get more training depth and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess in high school, I was starting to go through some kind of talent development stuff in both netball and athletics. Those were my main kind of avenues. And then come 15, 16, like year 11, year 12, I won the senior national championships for athletics in the long jump and the high jump. Short person, but was just very plyometric. So yeah, that was pretty incredible. Also won the Aussie under 18 nationals as well in the high jump and the long jump. Got bronze in the 100. And at this point we were like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty awesome kind of pathway to be going on. That year I also made the New Zealand Secondary Schools netball team. So it was a really exciting maybe like 6 months to a year where I was like, wow, okay, we've been grinding away here for a little while, and finally I guess kind of seeing some pretty awesome results. And then unfortunately I tore my ACL MCL meniscus middle of year 12, so after my secondary school season. I was also selected for my first Oceania's team for athletics that year as well, so like I said, it was a pretty special year as far as athletic achievement goes. And then it all kind of came to a stop because of my knee reconstruction. Kind of grinded away in year 13 to get back to the netball court and back on the track, and managed to get back, just wasn't quite where I was, and unfortunately wasn't selected for the secondary schools team. And that kind of, I'd be lying if I said it didn't deter me from continuing on the netball pathway and push me towards athletics, and haven't really looked back, I guess.
So the injury was almost like a silver lining.
Yeah. They always kind of are. They feel pretty terrible. Obviously, as soon as it happens, you're like, oh my God, like my life is over. Like if I can't train and I can't do that kind of thing, then like, what do I do? You kind of go through all of that. But it's always like when you reflect on it, it's always like, it kind of pushed me in a different direction.
Yeah, we've spoken in the past, and I know that you came back from that recovery quite quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how long did it take?
I was back on the netball court. I think I did, within 8 to 9 months, I did all my checkbox texting with, my testing with my physio, and, he gave me the green light to get back on the netball court, which obviously is very fast. I guess just a testament to how much I wanted it, the rehab I was doing. I had to be like really disciplined with not overdoing it, because definitely in the past I was like, I just want to run, I just want to, so I had to just stay within the parameters, like actually listen to people for once.
How long does it normally take to come back from that?
9's usually like 9 to 12, so usually 9's like in the early side.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't playing full netball games or anything. I was allowed like 5 minutes, and then even if I was fine, they'd sub me off, sit me down, because I was wearing like a proprioceptive kind of like knee sleeve as well, so all these parameters to make sure that I was safe.
That is so good that you had people around you to hold you back, because if I was that age and people were trying to load manage me and I still feel good and was subbed out, I'd be throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, it was definitely tough, but actually just kind of like listening to everybody around me, I think was what got me there so quickly.
So what did you focus on in that 8 months that you were off the court and off the track?
It kind of caused me to pivot and look more outside of my, I guess, kind of physical realm. Like I said, I had like a really incredible like 6 to 12 months of sporting achievements, was very quickly establishing myself as, one of those very sporty people at school and kind of nationally as well. And it kind of just caused me to go, okay, like what else? What else can I do? I was maybe quite narrow-sighted at sport at that point. And, I did things maybe I didn't think I could. I ran for like student council that year. I was like, oh, maybe I can be head girl. Like it kind of opened my eyes a bit to things outside of sport that I could kind of offer to other people. I guess when you're young and you're doing well in sport, it's quite about you. It's quite, I need to look after myself. And I guess it just gave me that time to really open myself up a bit more. And it definitely helped. Like, I think it didn't feel so hard because I was in the hostel and I had like 160 other girls around me all the time, like some of my best friends, you're living with them. It makes it a lot easier when you've kind of got that social connection all the time. Yeah.
You've mentioned that your parents was a huge influence on your sporting career. Was there anyone else that helped influence, the decisions that you've made today?
Yeah, I'd say I was pretty fortunate in that my nan was a big player as well. She was kind of like a third parent for me. When mum and dad couldn't get me from school or whatever it was, she was always there, and we often had this routine when she'd pick me up from school, from the bus, and we'd go to like a little bakery cafe in Waipukuro, which is where we lived, and we'd get like a sausage roll and an iced chocolate, or not overly healthy, but when you're a kid you can just eat anything. So yeah, we'd do that, and then she'd take me to the swimming pool and she'd just sit there for hours and just let me swim. I taught myself to swim that way. The kiddie pool was like, had a lane down the middle, and they do swimming lessons on one side and like casual stuff on the other side, and I'd be on the casual side and I just watch them and I just copy them without actually having to like pay for swimming lessons, and my nan would just sit there reading a book or whatever it was. Yeah, so she was really awesome. And then my godmother, my auntie as well, she was always around really supporting me. And my mum had like a ginormous family. So mum is one of 13
siblings.
Yes.
Holy.
Yeah. Different mums and dads, but lots of siblings, which means lots of cousins, which means, so it was always really awesome being around them, and it kind of just like solidified the importance of play and spending time with each other. And I have such a strength in the connection that I have with my whānau, and family is something that is really, really important to me.
Christmas must be huge.
Yeah,
expensive.
When we do big Christmas, it is very expensive. I wouldn't say we do those all the time because there are so many moving parts, and that's when you just do a Secret Santa kind of situation, because it's just not viable to be buying presents for everybody.
I will never complain about having to buy my family, because there's 5 of us, and every single Christmas I'm like, fuck, here we go.
It gets to that expensive time of the year.
Yeah. I like the idea of the Secret Santa though.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of you and your sisters.
Yeah, we used to do Secret Santa.
Yeah.
Or just not at all.
just make a pact that we're not
good. Let's not do it. Merry Christmas.
So you recovered from the traumatic knee injury.
Yeah.
And then did you ever miss netball? Did you ever try and go back? Or were you like, nah, really... Because you fell into athletics accidentally after that, is that right? No? Oh,
I mean,
I'm
both.
Listening.
Was always doing both.
I was always doing both.
At the transition of, like you said, once you did come back to netball and then you decided, no, I'm actually going to go full for athletics. Like, what was that sort of transition between like, no, I'm going to hang up my netball shoes now and go all in on athletics?
Yeah, so I saw out like my high school kind of netball and athletics careers. And then I moved up here in 2018 for uni, and yeah, I kind of looked around the country for where to go as far as uni goes and coaches. Landed on Auckland, and not that it probably would have worked anyways, but the coach that I went to said, you know, you got to be in. Like, athletics is the only sport we do when you're in the squad, because it just opens doors to injuries and all that kind of stuff. And at that time, I was like, yeah, fair enough. I know the injury situation. Like, don't worry. I did get a bit of an itch probably halfway through when the netball season started, because I was in halls. You know, the girls going out to netball training, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to my athletics training every day. It was the first time I'd specialised as well, because I was so diverse through high school and everything, just played everything. And towards the end, I did start getting less and less, like, you know, I had to drop basketball, had to drop volleyball. But yeah, so it was a bit challenging. I did have a sneaky season of netball in my first year uni. Oh. I did. I know.
Exclusive scandal.
Yeah, one of my flatmates, she was like, oh, we need another player, Brie. Like, I know you used to be good. Maybe do you want to come around? And so I trained with them a little bit, and they were like, oh, you should play in our top team. And I was like, no, let's just settle down.
I don't want to be caught out.
Yeah.
In the B grade.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It definitely kind of scratched the itch a little bit. Sometimes if I'm watching netball, more like, not necessarily like watching ANZ or anything, but if I'm going to watch a friend who still plays netball or something like that, I get the, I really want to play again. But yeah, I don't know, it kind of felt right. I think when you give up one sport, you always do have that feeling of like, oh, maybe I could have gone down that pathway or whatever it was. But the silver lining of the knee and everything is that, you know, I am where I am now with athletics, and it's been pretty great.
So at what point did that progression curve start to really skyrocket for you?
Yeah.
Like, when did the international stuff start to happen?
Yeah, so when I came up to Auckland, I was still kind of rebuilding a little bit from my knee. Still hadn't quite seen the results that I'd had. But then in 2019, I was lucky enough to be selected in the World University Games team, where I was selected for the relay, because we were in kind of like a New Zealand relay squad for quite a while. You know, we trained together occasionally and stuff like that. So yeah, I was one of 6 girls to be selected, which was really special. My biggest kind of team selection, that was in Italy. So we did Oceanias in Townsville in Australia first, and then we went over to Italy. It was my first time in Europe and everything like that. And yeah, that was quite a big crossroads for me, because I'd actually moved from physiotherapy into first year health side, decided that physio wasn't for me, wanted to do health side to become a doctor, and it was becoming very challenging balancing all these different things, high demand kind of activities. And then when I went to World Unis, it was quite an eye-opening moment where I was like, I can't do this with my body forever, but I can study, like I can continue to study for the rest of my life if I want to. So it was at that point where I kind of decided, okay, like I'll dip back the study a little bit. I'll go into a Bachelor of Science Physiology, which maybe isn't dipping it back that much, but it's not working towards becoming a doctor. And yeah, so that was kind of the point where I was like, the realization where I was like, okay, like you got to put a lot into this to actually kind of like get to the top, because I was a little bit like half in, half out, like trying to stretch myself too thin across studying and training and socializing and everything in between. So that was quite a big moment. And then off of that, 2020, I won my first senior long jump title. So yeah, I that season I got back over 6 meters, which is kind of like one of those points, one of those kind of like limits where you're like, oh wow, we've reached that 6 meter kind of threshold. So that was a really special season, and then we obviously went into COVID and lockdown and all that kind of stuff.
So you knew at that point that like my prime time in terms of my physical performance is now, let's make the most out of it and let's dial back down everything else.
Yeah.
What did your parents say?
My dad has always been very, very supportive. I mean, both my parents have been very supportive of the athletic journey, but Dad's always been very invested in it, both like financially as well as just like him wanting me to excel in sport. When I tore my ACL, it was playing netball. It was in one of my club team games, and I was centre, small, fast, plyometric, kind of mid-quarter, and I took a ball on the run, and then landed on my left knee, which is my surgery knee. Knee did all kind of weird stuff when you kind of snap your ACL. And I still fed the ball into the shooter, and she converted the goal. And I obviously went down to the ground screaming. Wasn't necessarily pain, but I heard a crack and I felt it. And anyways, my dad was like sitting in the stand, like top level of the stand. It was kind of like a 4-tier kind of bleacher situation. And I like scream whatever, I'm on my side. I roll over. My dad is there already. Wow. Like, I think mum and dad tell me the story. She was like on the 2nd level. Dad was on the 4th level. Dad jumped from the 4th level onto the ground and like kneed her in the head on the way down. And they both kind of like fall to the ground and then like run to me on the court. Wow. So my dad's always been very, very obviously invested in, I guess, like that realm of my life, and obviously was very concerned that his daughter is screaming on the ground. So I guess they had a lot of pride in it. And mum's very much just been like, honey, if you're happy, I'm happy kind of situation. So yeah, I think they were happy with kind of the decision to put more eggs into one basket rather than just stretching it all so thin. Yeah.
So what's the goal now with athletics?
LA 2028 is the big goal, and my coach and I have pretty defining kind of like targets and competitions and kind of like plans on how we get there. Because I only went into the heptathlon a year or two ago, it's been very new, it's been very dynamic, so we're kind of realising my potential there now, which is really exciting because it's been quite a fast, like, upward trajectory. And yeah, I have a fantastic team of people who believe in me deeply to get me to that point, and it's pretty special.
What was that?
I was going to say rewind. Where was the transition from like just doing long jump and stuff into heptathlon? And for those that might not know what a heptathlon is, aka Marwin.
Yeah. We'll start with what a heptathlon is. So a heptathlon is you do 7 athletic events over 2 days, and your distance or your time accumulates to a point. So there's literally a big chart that kind of says, this time equals this amount of points, and then at the end of the 2 days you add it all together, and then that's how you get your placings at the end. And so you start with day 1 is the 100-metre hurdles, high jump, shot put, 200-metre sprint, go back to your hotel, have a sleep, come back the next day, long jump, javelin, and then the grueling 800 metres to finish. So it's very diverse in terms of what you do. The men do a decathlon, so they do 10 events, women do heptathlon 7, and then indoor women do a pentathlon, which is 5 events.
What's your strength in all those disciplines? Speed
and jumps. I'm still working on the throws. They have been quite a challenge, especially the shot put. It's really the event that we're putting a lot of time and effort into it at the moment, because it's just the event that's just so much lower than all the others.
Why don't you just specialise in the jumping and what was your other strength?
Speed and jump.
Speed and jump. Why don't you just stay in speed and jump?
Like rather than the heptathlon?
Yeah.
I just love the transition to heptathlon so much. So I had a second knee surgery at the beginning of 2022. At the end of 2021, I actually reached quite a crossroads with my athletics. That was the point where I considered giving up. I wasn't loving it anymore. I just didn't feel like I was in the environment that was kind of, bringing that love out of it for me, and I was kind of had niggles all the time, and I was feeling like a bit of a grind. And at that point I actually considered, this is not to say that what these women do aren't incredible, but I was like, okay, if I want to get to the Olympics, I probably won't, at this point I was like, probably won't do it for athletics. So maybe I should go on 7s. And I did consider moving into that. Everyone always said to me, like, you're strong, you're fast, like, you've had like a rugby background and a contact sport background, like just go on to 7s. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go on to 7s. So it did take a bit of like kind of really looking at the bigger picture, whether like just the outcome was what I was going for, like getting to the Olympics. And then I made the choice to change coaches. And after I did my knee and had surgery that year, he said to me, should we spread the load across your whole body, not just focus on like nailing the long jump runway, and do heptathlon this year? We'll train as a heptathlete, we'll do a bit more upper body work and some technical stuff, and learn hurdles for the first time and learn javelin and shot put and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun, let's do that. We did a year of kind of rehabbing and kind of playing around, and then I just said to him, like, that was fucking awesome. Love that, love the diversity, love the challenge, love the roller coaster. It was kind of felt like I started athletics all over again and haven't looked back.
So did you get on the 7s field or on the rugby field?
No, I didn't.
Well, I feel like heptathlon, considering your background of doing a million sports growing up, it almost makes sense.
It was kind of the realisation of my athletic career to date, really.
Yeah.
kind of brought it all together.
Yeah, you've always loved doing multiple different things, and now you're getting to that in athletics versus just long jump or just running or something. Yeah.
Describe that moment where you and your coach, or maybe it was you and your family, or you by yourself, where you're like, LA 2024, this is what I'm doing. 2024 is now.
Yeah.
LA
Paris 2024.
LA 2028, that's what I'm gunning for. And then I assume everything else dissolved that was outside of that goal. What was that moment like? And when was it?
I think it's quite different. Like, a lot of athletes will tell you that their goal is the Olympics, or, you know, they want to get to LA 2028. And I think actually believing in that goal and actually being willing to go all in on what it actually takes to get there is quite different. There's quite a separation. My team and I were actually working really hard at the beginning of this year to figure out what it would take to get me to Paris 2024, which was quite far out of reach. But we genuinely took the steps and had the conversations, and we're working towards how do we get her mind to a place where Paris 2024 can be something that we achieve. We obviously didn't do that, so the refocus was LA 2028. And yeah, it's quite a, I think it's quite a confronting conversation, really, with your team. You know, you look at the next 4 years and what it's going to take, and it's like, well, okay, 4 years of sacrifice, of discipline, of hard work, of blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of money. And I think you just have to sit with that feeling for a little while, which is what I did. And I have mentioned to you that I work with my sports psych, David Galbraith, who we've been working together for about 2.5 years now. And myself and my coach and him, we all meet almost every week, and now it's like, okay, performance mindset getting us to LA 2028.
Would your chances be higher here of getting to go to the Olympics and representing New Zealand in heptathlon compared to elsewhere in the world? Like, I feel heptathlon is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, not as big of other sports here in New Zealand. Like, are there many athletes that are competing in heptathlon?
No, we're a pretty small bunch of people. I think at nationals this year there were 4 senior women.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. One who's just moved to Germany, so now there's only 3 of us. Yep. So hopefully there's some under 20s coming up or something, but it's very small. But the way to qualify is World Athletics and the New Zealand Olympic Committee set like a standard based off of, you know, what World Athletics say you need to do to qualify for the Olympics. So that's for all events across the board, which is one way you can qualify. The second way you can qualify is there's a new ranking system where competitions around the world based on their caliber, and then also how well you do in it, whether you win, whether you compete well, whatever it is, what you score gives you like an amount of points, and then that accumulates to your world ranking, and you have to be within the top 24 in the world to qualify for the Olympics for heptathlon. I think at the moment I'm 85th. So, and that's adjusted for, so you can only take 3 people per country to the Olympics in each event as well. So there might be like 8 Americans who are in the top 100 or whatever, but you can actually only count 3 of them. So adjusting for 3 per country, I'm sitting at 85th at the moment.
You mentioned before you and your team were asking the question, how do we get her mind in a state to be ready for 2028? Can you describe what your mindset is now and what your mind state needs to be in order for you to be ready for LA?
I guess I'll kind of go back to the beginning with working with DG, David. So I kind of reached out to him because I knew I wanted to take the next step, kind of that higher 2 inches, you know, like I knew that there's another realm and that really kind of separates the good from the great. And I knew that was to do with mindset and everything around that. So I approached him originally because I felt I had this thing which my dad and I called lane fright. And I always would feel I came out of the blocks really well, super explosive and fast out of the blocks, and then I'd be in the front. And then anytime I'd feel somebody getting close to me, I'd like tense up, which is totally counterproductive to what you need to be fast. Like sprinters are so relaxed. Like a lot of the top women and men, like you'll see their faces are just like literally just going up and down because they're just so relaxed in what they're doing. So I originally went to him saying, I need help with this lane fright thing that I have. And he's very much a guy who kind of like goes from the bottom up. You know, you learn about the person before the athlete. You kind of build the layers. We build the layers of the cake, and you know the medals and the teams and the performances is the cherry on top. So yeah, for about 2 years we've been building the cake. You know, kind of really going deep into what makes me tick. We figured out that this lane fright I had is associated with just having really high expectations of myself. I was always like, I need to get to finish line first, like whatever. And that's where it kind of started. We obviously, over a lot of conversations, a lot of work, a lot of visualization, a lot of breath work, a lot of looking inwards, we're able to get to a place that I feel I'm at now, where I'm a much more centered and self-aware athlete. But even the conversations we have now, where I think I'm a pretty top-tier mental athlete, it's like, oh, there are big steps to go even to get to, say, LA 2028, in terms of being so disciplined. Like, there's a level of discipline, and then there's a level of discipline that you need to become an Olympian. You know, it's the small disciplines, it's the small things in life you have to be disciplined on in order to get to those big things. I feel like I'm getting closer, but I absolutely wouldn't say I'm in an Olympian mind and build my life that way yet.
Well, what exactly do you think you need to become more disciplined in?
I think my time is a big thing. I recently have left my semi-full-time job and working on a business of my own and doing a bit of part-time work and coaching, so I have a few different things going on. But yeah, you spend a little bit too much time, mucking around in the morning, or you get caught in a bit of a doom scroll on Instagram or whatever, and that's 45 minutes of your day where you were gonna journal, and you were gonna breathe, and you were gonna meditate, and you were gonna whatever. I think for me it is doing the basics savagely well. That is what I'm kind of missing at the moment. I get it sometimes, but not in a way that's super consistent. I really want to refine my morning routine. I feel like my nighttime routine is really awesome, and something that I've kind of built with DG is that you want to start your day super intentional, and you also want to finish it and wrap it up and reflect. And everyone has their own optimal ingredients to their day, which is all the things that make them feel good. It's when you're having your best days, what is it that, why did you feel that way? And if you take those kind of optimal ingredients into a day where it's actually really shitty, you're still going to come out and you're still going to feel good, even if it was a really tough day. So yeah, my morning routine is something that I need to get disciplined on. I know I feel good when I stay off my phone and I stay off social media for the first hour or two of the day. Sometimes I have a tendency to wake up and you look at your phone and whatever you do. I get up, I have a cold shower, I have stretch and meditate, and that kind of really sets me up for a nice morning. And I know that. I know these things make me feel good, but it's actually doing it that is probably consistently. That is probably the part that's missing a little bit.
Since making the decision to strive for the next Olympics, and also making these trade-offs now, are you feeling the pressure? Is there more pressure building internally? Or do you feel it from anyone else maybe?
I don't know if there is pressure, but I definitely know that there will come a point where there is. I feel like I'm happy with where I'm at right now. Training's going well. Life is shaping up to be pretty incredible. I'm working really hard, but I haven't started competing yet. And it's kind of we have a lot of steps and goals and targets and numbers that I have to hit and competitions we want to qualify for and stuff like that. And I think once you get to that point where it's out in the open, that you're going for these things, or you're getting close to these things, I feel like that's a little bit where the pressure comes. But honestly, I'm pretty good at not feeling external pressure. I know that I'm absolutely on my own journey, and it's for me, and we're figuring out ways to kind of navigate those times where I do feel a bit uncomfortable in the expectation or whatever it is. But yeah, I'm actually reading a book at the moment that's I think it's called Unbelievable. It's Jessica Innes-Hill, who's one of the previous incredible heptathletes, and I'm actually at a point in the book where she's going into her Olympic year where she ends up winning gold in the women's heptathlon, but she's just talking about all the pressure that she's feeling. The competitions leading up, the media, the everything. And that was quite a moment. I'm sure the year of the Olympics is a really big year. You obviously work for 4 years, and then you get to the year that you need to actually perform. And I can absolutely see how that would be quite a, I guess, confronting and difficult, but also super exciting and special year to navigate.
Me and Shenav, when it comes to our mental health, we've seeked out external help in the past, and it's helped us a lot. What lessons have you learned from the bro DG? Shout out David Galbraith. What lessons from that process of working with DG have you learned that is outside of sport but applicable to everyday life?
I'd say like 80% of what we have done and what we do is not related to sport. Like obviously it's kind of about sport, but it's more like about the work on your inner person. And I'd say that a big one that we did right at the beginning was he asked me to think about what my biggest fears were. And I, very naturally said the loss of my ability, the loss of my family, like those kind of things. And he was like, those are very rational fears to have as a person. He said, what are your irrational fears? I was like, okay, I need to think about this. And I said to him, a moment that I observed that was really interesting is when I came back from my second knee surgery, like you atrophy, like you lose all the muscle in your legs. And I'm quite a muscly person, especially through my legs. And so I had one built leg and I had one chicken leg. And it was something that I was super, super self-conscious of. And I said to him, I was like, I didn't go to the beach because I was too embarrassed because of my skinny leg, and I didn't want people to look at me and be like, oh my God, one of their legs are really skinny, like what's going on there? And so we stripped that all back. And we figured out that it's because I hold myself to really high expectations in a lot of aspects of my life, obviously not just on the track, or whether it's what I do outside of the track, what I eat, what I look like, I guess, as well, like all those kind of things. And then strip that back even more. Like there's so many layers to all of these kind of things. And I think that's a big thing that he's taught me as well, is like there are layers, and sometimes you just got to sit with that and you got to think about it and actually see where this thought or this fear or this action maybe as well, this action comes from. And I realized that I was putting all these high expectations on myself because I wanted so badly to like achieve for my family. So bad for my mum and dad especially, and they absolutely did not put pressure on me to be better and all this kind of stuff, but it's the pressure that you put on yourself, and I was doing that for others rather than for myself. For my dad, it was like I said to you, he obviously has invested in my athletic and sporting career my entire life, and subconsciously I was feeling heaps of pressure regarding the amount of money that he had put into my athletics, and whether it was comps we were going away and I didn't compete well, and I was like, well, there's thousands of dollars down the drain, and that wasn't worth it. And with my mum, like my mum has the biggest heart, and like I said, has always just loved and supported me, and had a pretty tough kind of like upbringing. And so I just wanted to achieve for her to have that pride in a daughter that's, doing incredible things and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like one of the very first kind of big realizations. And I think once you crack open maybe like one of the root kind of, if you want to call it traumas or whatever it is, or tendencies, things kind of open up. You have a greater awareness of what's going on around you, a greater self-awareness, maybe why you respond or react in certain ways. And he's really just kind of taught me to observe myself deeply, through my breath and my visualization, and to just go deep in quite a, I guess, unconscious realm. He's quite spiritual in that sense, which I think is really incredible as well, and it teaches you so much to take yourself to those places and allow yourself to go deeper into those places as well. Yeah.
Where are you now with those high expectations of yourself? Do you still have them, or is there like a pressure release valve, or did you have to talk to your parents about them to reconcile yourself with that?
I haven't explicitly had the conversations with my parents. I did have one with my dad when I was a little bit younger, but it was just like quite an emotional conversation in that, I didn't compete well, and I was just crying and saying like, I'm sorry you spent so much money to get here. And he was like, it doesn't matter, and so I wouldn't say that was before I had kind of come to this realization. I think the expectations I have on myself now are for me, and they're not for anyone else. The expectations I have on myself is because I love what I do. I obviously have big goals and big targets, and am on an incredible journey that I want to continue on. And I have goals that, maybe the ordinary people would never even strive to do. And so I hold myself to that place because I know what it takes, and I know where I need to be. It's not like I wouldn't say it's not a bad pressure or bad expectation. I think it's just a knowing. Yeah. And knowing it's now for me. I'm doing what I'm doing for me. Yeah.
That segues into my next question, and I'm pretty sure we know the answer already based on what you just said, but I'm always so interested to hear how an athlete reconciles competing with their friends, you know, because obviously you're all buddy-buddy and you all love each other, but when it comes to the track or in the ring, you're trying to score higher or beat them on the podium. How do you reconcile that for yourself? Like, is there a switch that you have? You're like, today you are my friend, but right now, over the next 30 seconds, I hate you. Or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not an athlete, guys. Okay? I don't know how this goes.
I hate them, but...
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how other people do it. Honestly, I don't know how others deal with that kind of thing. I think in athletics, you especially if you're a sprinter or something like that, you have to be a very fierce individual competitor. And I think what I've kind of learnt, even more so through my work with DG, is that like it's me against me. It's me against me. I stay in my own lane. If they do well, then that's fucking awesome. They beat me, that's fine, because I'm racing against me. And if I am, say, happy with the time that's at the end of the track and that was good for me and they beat me, then that's all good. And I think I've had the pleasure of being in training groups with a lot of my really, really good friends in the past, and you just go through it all together. You go through those tough days, you have those incredible trainings, you have those ones where you don't want to be there, you have those really grindy sessions where you're like, I actually just don't think I can do this, or you see them break down at a training one day and then a competition a few weeks later they absolutely kill it, and it's just, you just have like a genuine love and respect for one another that's so deep, regardless of they're beating you or you're beating them. You appreciate each other's journey, and I think it just comes from a place of love and respect. That's me personally. In saying that, I'm a very fierce competitor, and you know, I'm happy to whatever chat during warm-up and all that kind of stuff, but like, I'm in my own lane and I'm here for me and not for you, you know?
Yeah.
But then I'm gonna give you a big hug at the end, probably slap your bum or something. Like, that's just how it is, you know? It's just, I think it's quite a nice thing. I guess New Zealand's so small and we all know each other so well. Like, a lot of the sprinters especially, like, we all are very, very close friends. I think you just have such deep relationships that it doesn't affect it. Yeah.
If you had a magic wand and you could improve the New Zealand athletics industry in whichever way you saw fit, how would you do it? What would you do?
I think there's quite a big gap in the support that people in the middle get. So when I say people in the middle, I mean we're really great at facilitating grassroots athletics. We're really great at facilitating, you know, elite kind of athletics, but it's kind of these people in the middle who are like, I really love the sport, but I don't know how much it's giving me. And I think there are so many pathways that we can build for them, whether it's investment into, you know, competitions or whatever it is. I think there's just a gap there for those kind of people. And thinking about this, I've also thought like the support and normalizing of sports psychologists and access to them. I think this is not to say you don't need sports psychs for all sports, but I think athletics especially, where it's just you out there, like you've done all the mahi with your coach or whatever for however long, and then it's just you on that track, like it's, your body's in the right place, you know, like you've been working hard, but if your mind doesn't show up, then you can't compete well. And I think that needs to be a far normalized thing. I think people think there needs to be something wrong to be talking to a sports psych, and I'm like, I mean, maybe I thought there was something wrong when I first went to my sports psych, but now we've been chatting for 2.5 years, and he's a huge part of my team and one of the very important, influential men in my life. And there's nothing wrong. We're just continuing to optimize me and my journey. So that as well. And then I think just the promotion and stuff around athletics. Like, we have comps in Auckland, we have comps around New Zealand, and I just feel like the stands are always half empty, and it just needs to be built up more. Like, athletics is such a spectator sport. Like, people can't tell me that athletics isn't the best event at the Olympics. Like, tell me I'm wrong, okay?
That in boxing is the only...
Oh, yes, but, like, you know, like, everybody tunes in for, like, they won't think about athletics for, like, 3.5 years, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to watch the athletics at the Olympics. Because it's just, like, it's just incredible to see people moving their bodies like it, and it's so measurable. Like, you're like, okay, so you go from a crop of 40 people down to a race of only eight people. Like, wow, these are the top tier kind of people, and the margins are so small as well. So I just think making it bigger, making it more of an event. Like, I think if it was advertised better, people would come and watch.
I was gonna say, I only hear about athletic events through my friends that are in athletics.
Yeah.
If they're like, oh yeah, I've got a race on this weekend, if you're free and you want to come down and watch. But it's not something that I see, like, you know, on a billboard or like advertised on Facebook or out there if you're not amongst that community already. Which, like you said, the average person would, I'm sure, love to come and just watch if there's nothing else to do in Auckland on their weekend. Yeah. Like, why not come out to an event and watch top athletes from our city or our country doing their thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've probably already answered it, but what do you think you need the most help with?
What do I need the most help with? I'd say something that a lot of people don't know about semi-professional, professional athletes is that it's all self-funded. It all comes from our own pockets. We're all either working or have been working, whether it's full-time or part-time or whatever it is, figuring out ways that we can hopefully get sponsorship or all these kind of things. It's absolutely a labour of love. Most sports in New Zealand are, and I'm extremely fortunate to obviously be sponsored by Alice KD, who I've been with for almost a year now, and they've been incredible in supporting my journey and everything like that. I am working on my own avenues of sponsorship at the moment. I don't want to sit here and say money.
But money.
But we'll say it for you.
No, but these are my bank details
right
if you
now.
want to transfer me. No. I mean, I've also been very, very fortunate and still fortunate to receive support from my family as well. So regardless, I feel I am in a very good position. I'd say, following on from what I said about the advertising and all that kind of stuff, just people coming to comps would be really awesome. Like at our Combined Events Nationals at the beginning of the year and last year, like the stand was our family. I am a relatively intense competitor. I love to get the crowd involved. I will clap. I do my own thing. I have my routines and my breath, and like it's just me there. You know, it's me on the runway. It's me, whatever. Like, I'm there for me, but I absolutely love getting people involved. The atmosphere and everything is incredible. So if we could just get more people to athletics meets, it would be freaking awesome. Combined Events Nationals is at the end of March next year, where I will be working hard towards a national title. So
March
come and watch.
Here in Auckland.
Here in Auckland at Mount Smart Stadium.
Bri, you've mentioned you've started a new business, Take Flight. What is it? Why are you doing it? And who do you aim to help with it?
So I launched my business Take Flight maybe a month or two ago, and I guess kind of backstory behind it is I competed in Europe last year. I just decided I wanted to experience more international competitions. I'd only just started heptathlon, so I was like, cool, there are way more heptathlon opportunities overseas, so I'll just go over there and kind of see a longer competition season. And it was absolutely incredible. There was a lot of organisation that went into it, contacting competition organisers, transport, accommodation, navigating obviously different languages and different systems and stuff like that. And I felt a lot of pride in the fact that I did all of that for myself. But I kind of realised while I was over there, I was like, why isn't anybody doing this? Like, why don't people know that they can do this? Because I just went over there for the experience last year. I wasn't going over there to win gold medals. I wasn't going to qualify for the Olympics or anything like that. And those are the athletes that you see doing that. So I think the perception in New Zealand is that those are the only athletes that can do that. But actually, like, the level of competition over there is so diverse. Like, and the atmosphere is incredible. Like, you'll go to their lowest level meets that are equivalent to our Auckland weekend meets, and the stands are packed and there are food carts and there are, you know, it's just like the support and everything behind it is incredible. And it was such an incredible, like, I've said incredible like 10 times now, it's just incredible. It was a really cool, like, sporting and also personal kind of development journey as well. And so I just thought, why someone needs to do this for other athletes. And so I built Take Flight, which is essentially a sporting service to help track and field athletes get into comps in Europe, kind of focused around New Zealand, Australian athletes at this stage, but hopefully with obviously the vision to grow that, whether it's bring European athletes to New Zealand, whether it's offering the USA as well. But I just think that kind of middle tier pathway that I said was missing from our system, I think this is it. I think people need to know that if you're not aiming for or you don't quite think you can reach those top level competitions, that there is something else you can do to travel and experience that same amount of joy and competition and experience. Even if you aren't putting on those black singlets for New Zealand, there is absolutely opportunity for people to go out there and compete against the best, and that's why I did it. I want people to experience what I did. And so I just hope to bridge that gap. And I think my hope is that it will keep people in the sport longer, because they'll see that there are alternative pathways. There is more fulfillment that I can find from the sport than maybe I thought.
Just 2 more questions before we finish up, Bri. One is, how can people find you, support you, and also get in touch if they know someone or they have children that are keen to go through the machine of Take Flight?
So Instagram's probably the best kind of place for that. My personal is Briana Stephenson, 1N Stephenson with a PH. And then Take Flight is on Instagram as takeflight_athletics, and our website is athleticstakeflight.com.
Yo, I've actually got 2 more questions. Sorry.
You can't count.
Sorry. If you could speak to Bri in 2021, the Bri that was considering giving up, what would you say to her?
I would say stick at it. There are some incredible opportunities and growth to come for you, and keep your heart and your mind open, because it's going to be pretty special.
My last one. You're currently meeting Bri in LA 2028. If you could ask her any question, what would you ask her?
I'd probably just ask her how it feels to finally have made it. Finally have done what you set out to do 4 years ago.
What would you hope she would say?
I hope she would say that it was absolutely all worth it, and it was the most incredible ride of her life.
Bri Stephenson, everybody. Let's go.